Hello and welcome, episode number 9 to the First to Third podcast. I am Scott Banks, playing host a little bit tonight, and I'm joined by my great friends, Mr. Drew Dole and Robbie Swab. So happy Memorial Day to everybody before we get too started. Again, never going to take over the opportunity to say thanks to the countless men and women that have served our country and paid that ultimate sacrifice. So definitely don't want to pass over that and give that its proper due. But we are here to talk about some baseball, keep the mood a little light. Boys, how we doing?
It's good. Good. How are you?
Excited to watch some good Braves baseball this past week. So I feel like my mood kind of ebbs and flows with the Braves schedule, which is probably not great for my loved ones and friends in my life. But, you know, it's always good to see some good baseball and have it going on.
Very true.
So how about you, Rob? You doing all right?
Doing well. Memorial Day was good. Got a chance to see the Pham.
Love it.
Got a little bit of solo time. Alden and little girl and the wife went on a little girls trip. So
love it.
Cooked some steak for some Memorial Day today.
There you go.
Not too shabby.
Hey, anytime the red meat enters the chat, it's a good evening.
Oh, dude, y'all should have seen it. I don't want to get on a cooking thing, but like I buttered these suckers up, and it was garlic and butter, and I was just like basting it in this little skillet. It was so good.
Hey,
so
maybe
good.
maybe that'll be a spinoff podcast we do sometime. Is cooking with the boys here. So I have embarked on a lifestyle change. We'll say so. I've actually given up pretty much all meat for the past month, with the exception of fish. So I've been trying to, live a healthier lifestyle, drop some of those lbs. We got a good friend of ours, Ryan, getting married this year. So I'm trying to look pretty decent in those pictures at some point. So, but yeah, it's been going well. So yesterday, to your point, Rob, I actually blackened a half-pound tuna fillet and did that on a cast iron skillet. Whew, let me tell you, that hit the spot. So
those tuna fillets are legit. Those tuna fillets are legit, and you don't have to do a ton to them.
No, and that's what was pretty shocking. Like, that was the first time I've actually cooked, grilled one, even though I did it cast iron on the stove. And I kind of just made up some blend of spices. So I did a little brown sugar, some black pepper. I did some red pepper flakes and some flour to kind of give it a nice little coating, and let that bad boy roll. It was delicious. So that might become a mainstay if I continue on this no red meat or chicken lifestyle that I've embarked on here. So we'll see what happens. But it was, hey, if I can do that every day, who needs the other stuff, to be honest?
True.
So
True.
A little bit more extra expensive, especially up here in the mountains.
Yes.
Cost a little bit to get that fish up here. So
all the good stuff is expensive.
You mean right. There's no tuna in the rivers up there in Boone, North Carolina?
Not a lot of tuna swimming around in the New River up here. So, and if there were, I don't know if I'd recommend eating it, if I'm being honest either. So. Oh, too funny. Well, yeah. Well, let's like Rob said, we're not going to dwell on the cooking channel. We haven't hit that spinoff yet, so we'll dive into some Braves baseball kind of chat here to kind of talk about the week. So it was a decent week, as we talked about last week. Then kind of teed up the week. It was division week, so we had a 4-game series against the Phillies, and then we capped the week with a 3-game series against the Marlins. So had a nice little 7-game homestand there. Split the series with the Phillies, two games to 2, before taking 2 out of 3 against the Marlins over the weekend, winning games 1 and 3 of that series. Man, let me tell you, Sandy Alcantara I'll say he has the Braves number, but I think he might also have the league's number. I mean, that dude is pitching insane out of his mind right now. Watching that game Saturday, he looked, about unhittable as a pitcher could hit or look. I mean, he was pumping gas.
He wasn't pitcher of the week for nothing.
You think he's a top? You think he's a top 10 pitcher in baseball?
I'd say based on his performance,
he's got to be close.
For sure.
He's got to be close.
I heard. I can't remember if it was on the broadcast or if it was on the radio broadcast for the Braves, and they were talking about how he's just so underrated as a pitcher, and just what he does for the Marlins. Then you got a chance to watch him on Friday. Like, I got a chance to finally watch him for a full pitch a full game, and because you see clips of it, he throws 98, throws 99. But to be able to see him do what he did for a whole game, and just with the Braves' new hitting approach, trying to put the ball in play, and he was just striking him out.
It's like they couldn't pick it up at all.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah.
My thing is, would that be like a possible trade piece down the line? I know it's inside division, but
I don't think the Braves have the prospect package anymore. I mean, it would be a deep prospect. You're talking single A, double A type deal that you're shifting out. And I would say the Marlins are probably going to look for something, a lot more impressive than probably what the Braves could offer.
And they don't want major league ready guys either.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? Try to find a guy to replace him? It's like, well, you're not going to find a guy to replace him. So, I mean,
I'll be honest with you. He has a little Jose Fernandez in it.
Yeah.
I mean, how dominant Jose Fernandez was. Like, they were planning on building around him as the number one. I bet you he's a no trade guy. Honestly, I think he's that good. I think I don't think they would put together a package that would be worth sending him somewhere else. He's too good.
Yeah. I was just curious kind of what his stats were. So he signed, I guess he was an international signing with the Cardinals back in 2013. And he made his major league debut with them in September of 2017. And then he was traded to the Marlins in the Marcell Ozuna trade that sent Ozuna from Miami to St. Louis. So I would say, based on the other names that I'm seeing on this list, Miami won that trade, considering Ozuna's not with the Cardinals anymore. So he is. I was just interested in what his journey. He's only 26. I mean, but the dude literally standing out there looks like a vet, which I think that speaks volumes to, him as a player and all that. But so far this year, he's 5-2, which the fact that he's lost 2 games is pretty baffling. He's got a 2.0 ERA, which that's bananas. He has the one complete game that he threw against the Braves a couple weeks ago. 67 innings. He's given up 46 hits, 20 runs, but only 15 earned. He's only given up 4 homers. He has had 63 strikeouts to 22 walks. Opponents are averaging 197 off of him, which that's
going to win a lot of games when they don't give up hits.
Absolutely. So
don't walk people.
That too.
Yep. And he's got a whip right on the nose at 1. So
I was about to say his whip's probably at 1 or just a tick above, because that seems like that seems like the biggest stat for all pitchers is the less people you put on base and the less hits you give up, the more wins and you have essentially.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's how I started evaluating the hitters. Is just adding up RBIs and runs scored. Like how many? And I think that's how they're starting to evaluate pitchers.
I mean, it's true. Like I said, and if you're looking at RBIs and runs scored for hitters purely, I mean, that's pure production numbers, right? It's are you driving in runs when you've got them on, and are you scoring runs? Are you getting on base enough to score runs? I mean, so
I think hitters are mostly evaluated doubles, home runs, RBIs, OPS. Honestly, OPS, RBIs, and runs scored. There you go.
Yeah.
Breaking news: Austin Riley leaves the yard
again.
Love it.
Again.
Love it.
That right center almost into the pool. It's a
It is weird.
Game.
It is weird. We don't typically have Braves games going on during the recording of our podcast, so I know we're all a little intrigued and kind of checking phones throughout as we go. So,
I'm just watching the broadcast.
There you go.
You got that going on, and then you got in North Carolina here, big hockey game in Raleigh tonight.
That's right.
So
Speaking of North Carolina, this is kind of off the topic here, but NC State not making the NCAA tournament.
we talked. Yeah, we talked about that before. Sorry.
What happened?
I don't know.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's baffling.
You know it's bad when the athletic director releases a statement on behalf of the baseball team.
Yeah, because nothing good Elliott Avent was going to say was going to be positive towards the NCAA. So,
no.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things that all the Division I baseball guys that do their projections never had State near a bubble, and then all of a sudden they're not in the tournament. And I don't think NC State realized that losing the ACC tournament was going to, and going 3-1 in the ACC tournament was going to result in them not being in the tournament.
Were they in the championship game?
Yeah, they lost to Carolina 9-5.
Yeah.
So they went all the way to the ACC championship game
and lost 9-5. They had one bad inning in the championship game.
Yeah, 6-run second.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. You take that one inning away, they win the ball game.
Correct.
So, which you can't do in baseball. I'm not sitting here saying that you can, but 6 runs in one game, and that's it turns out to be the difference in the ball game is pretty tough to swallow. And then on top of that, not make the tournament. So yeah, that's a pretty tough pill to swallow. So,
and I think some of it had to do with other teams getting in that weren't supposed to get in. Great for UNCG. Glad they got in. They won 6 games in 3 days. Come through the losers bracket, won the whole thing. I think Grand Canyon got in.
Yeah,
another team that wasn't supposed to get in and got in. So that kind of hurt NC State, but still at the end of the day, there's 4 teams below them RPI wise that got in, and NC State's wondering what did we do wrong because the RPI is better, and it makes you think a lot about what happened last year and what happened behind closed doors with the NCAA and Elliott Avent and the NC State AD, and did they hold that against them? Who knows? I don't know. Wasn't there, wasn't privy to those conversations, but sure looks like it had a lot to say.
All right. Well, let's call it what it is. The basketball figured it out and had playing games. So if you have a freaking UNCG or something, or whoever that had no business getting in, their RPI is terrible.
But they won their conference tournament.
But they won their conference tournament. Make them give them a bid, give them a chance, make them win a game to get into the regional.
So you want them to play on a Wednesday?
Play NC State.
Play on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
But NC State wouldn't be playing in somebody in UNCG. NC State would be playing somebody for like a 3 spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could make it happen, but
obviously you could.
You could make that happen very easily, and it's already being done in basketball.
But they won't do it for baseball because money.
I would think more games and more teams would be more money, but Who knows?
It's also more expensive depending on where you're flying people to. So that's your other end of the spectrum.
NCAA makes billions of dollars off of March Madness. They can get Coppin State
and college football.
They can get Coppin State to wherever they need to play.
Yeah, they're getting Coppin State to Greenville, North Carolina is where they're getting them to.
Yeah. Well, because really all you're doing at that point, right, is just sending so if they did 4 play-in games at that point, you're just sending one extra team to a regional site.
Correct.
To play on a Wednesday. And then the winner of that game is in the regional and the loser just goes home at that point. So,
correct.
Like it doesn't feel like a lot, and that adds 4 more teams. So,
now you're at 68 versus 64, just like basketball.
Right. So
I like it, Rob.
What's the difference in that, And again, if you're going to make it regional based too, so that team's probably not going to have to travel very far. Put UNCG in that Greenville region,
Or, I mean, you can, at the end of the day, you can send NC State up to Maryland.
Yeah. I mean,
you're not going to send them to Chapel Hill, or you could send NC State to Greenville.
Right.
Did Chapel Hill get one?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Trust me, Robbie, a lot of people were just like you, puzzled when those regional sites came out.
I was at a party with a well-known ACC baseball coach on Saturday. He wasn't optimistic about getting a 1 seed or getting a regional, but they swept Carolina.
Would that be the head coach at UVA? Okay, take that as a yes. They got their hands full, so
yeah, they got a pretty tough draw.
That one is a gauntlet. I would be upset if I was East Carolina. Like that stinks.
They're the hottest team in NCAA baseball, not named Tennessee.
No, I understand that, but
yeah, I mean Coastal.
Virginia Coastal, yeah. Yeah. Hey, but they figured it out in the last month and a half, so yeah, it is what it is. Sorry, we got off all the topic there, Scotty, but I mean,
it's all good. It's all good.
Braves are hitting it. Braves are starting to go backside, starting to put the ball in play and stop striking out.
Yep.
Way to go,
that was one of the things we were looking at before we got on here, Robbie, about Austin Riley was, he'd hit really well so far this week, and now I think that was his 4th home run, and since we've been on podcast, but he had 10 punch outs too. So I mean,
Swanson just struck out. I think he hadn't put in a ball. I think he hadn't struck out in like 20 some odd bats. He just struck out in the second half bat of the game of today. But like, dude, freaking let it travel, hit it backside. Now I know it's easy to say that. Yeah, they're facing guys throwing 100 miles an hour with 92 mile an hour sliders and 85 mile an hour changeups. It's like, I understand all that, but it is frustrating when I felt like with Swanson, there are like every single year he's like, oh, you know what? I just need to get back to the backside stuff. Like I just need to get back to doing that. It's like, why would you ever go away from that? If it works so well, why does it take you so long to figure it out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a lot of the timing issue and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I would agree. I'll use this time to just give us a plug again. If you aren't following us over on Twitter, we're definitely trying to start being a little more active over there and get some interaction with the community. But Mark Bowman, the beat writer for the Braves, put out a tweet this afternoon, and I pulled it up so I could read it out loud and quote it so that it wasn't a misquote on the podcast. He said, Dansby Swanson led MLB in strikeouts during the early portion of this season. He has now gone 22 consecutive plate appearances without a strikeout. That's currently the 6th longest stretch in MLB, to which our account just responded, sometimes stats are best left unsaid. Like, why would we even throw that out there? Like, why is that a stat that we're tweeting about? Like, let the guy hit. Like, let's not even tempt fate on that. I'm not really a big, like, announcer's curse kind of guy, but at the same time, I'm like, why tempt it? Why even let it become a thing?
The Braves announcers are horrible out of the announcer's curve.
100%.
They will say, "Oh, he's got a perfect game through 3 innings."
Basically,
It's like, shut up.
One of my favorite Chip Carey things that he does though is like if the Braves get a hit in like the first inning, he'll make a comment and say no hitter broken up in the first or something like that.
And there goes the perfect game.
Yeah, exactly. So I do kind of find some comedy in that for sure. But yeah, so again, if you want to follow us over on Twitter, it's a good follow. We try to put some good stuff out there for the folks. It's at First Two Third Pod over on Twitter. So give us a quick follow over there. But no, the Braves definitely had a good week. Just kind of round that out. So 4-3 on the week brings their overall record to 23-25. Still second in the division, I believe, 8.5 back from the Mets the last I checked. But I heard somebody say the other day, the Braves don't need to worry so much right now about trying to catch the Mets as they do need to just kind of establish themselves as the second team in the East. And once you kind of establish that, it's probably going to be you and the Mets in the division, then at that point, that's kind of when you pull in the, quarter mile push, so to speak, in the horse racing terms there, where, we're going to try to get them in our sights, the Mets, that is, kind of, halfway through the season and on in. So we'll see. But I will say, I think the Braves' chances to kind of make up some games are coming up as we kind of start June baseball. So as we take a quick look as the Braves schedule, really over the next like 3 weeks, we have a West Coast road trip that that the Braves embarked on today against the Diamondbacks. So that's 3 in Arizona. Then we have 4 in Colorado before having an off day to come back home, where we have a 2-game series against the Athletics, a 4-game series at home against the Pirates, and then we hit the road again with 3 games in Washington and then 3 games in Chicago. So that is 3, 7, 9, 13, 16. That's 19 baseball games over the course of the next couple weeks. If the Braves can go 14-5, 13-6. I really think that is the type of stretch that needs to kind of happen over this series, over this kind of stretch of games, because you're playing some teams that should be very winnable. That next week's Athletics Pirates homestand. I mean, that's 6 games that I feel like they need to go 5-1.
4-2 at least,
at the minimum. The Nationals, they always play us tough, but again, that's a series we have to take 2 from. And then Chicago, not playing very good baseball right now consistently. So I think, again, minimum 2 out of that. So like I said, 13-6, 14-5 over that stretch of 19 games, I think really put some distance between us and the rest of the NL East. And, who knows, potentially puts a dent in some of that Mets lead, given the Mets, injury history. Now, the Mets do look like a very different team this year. They have been hit, especially their rotation, by the injury bug, but they seem to continue to find ways to win ball games, which is something that they haven't done in the past. So kind of seems like the Mets and the Phillies have kind of traded places right now. The Phillies finding ways to lose ball games.
I think the Mets figured it out when they got Showalter.
Yeah, that was
I think he makes a big difference.
Yeah,
you got a veteran manager, knows how to push buttons of guys that need their buttons pushed at certain times, and he has pushed the buttons so far correctly.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Anybody else have any other thoughts?
Braves aren't that good yet.
No,
but they can be.
Yeah. Well, again, I think, to Robbie's point earlier, there has been an obvious change in approach. Guys definitely trying to put the ball in play, which I think in the era that we're in right now, pitchers throwing extremely hard with a good mix of pitches, along with this kind of dead ball period that seems to be going around. In terms of that conversation, drop and lift is not that's not a winning formula right now. But putting the ball in play, creating some chaos on the bases, making teams who have made these decisions to not put emphasis on their defense and think that they can just score a bunch of runs and win no matter what the defense looks like. I think that's going to be key, kind of going the rest of the way, as long as none of those variables change. The baseball stay the same, all that kind of stuff. So,
which can't count on the baseballs ever. So,
yeah, for sure.
Ooh. Speaking of pitchers that throw hard, pivot. Mr. Strider Quadzilla is throwing cheesy poo right now.
Love it. Oh. Yeah, his mustache is looking on point. I saw his pregame interview today, looking sweet. So, even though Barrick is not here, we will still give the Orioles a little bit of shout out. We probably won't go into too much of a depth of conversation as Barrick would, but still want to give them a little love nonetheless. Orioles had a pretty tough week. Yankees and Red Sox again. On the road. I feel like the Orioles have played 49 games so far, and 30 to 35 of them have been against the Yankees and the Red Sox. It just seems like every time I look, that's who they're playing. But they had a 3-game
branch out.
Yeah. They had a 3-game set against the Yankees before heading to Boston, where they played the very rare 5-game set on the road. So they're wrapping that series up tonight. But stopping
it 6-0 right now.
Yeah. So stopping it on Sunday, the Orioles go 3-4 to bring their record to 20-29 this year. Again, they went 1-2 against the Yankees so far. 2-2 against the Red Sox. We'll see how that shakes out in that. But I will say, Austin Hayes, have a season, my guy. Just last week, looking at his statistics, I feel like Barrick's been talking about him for a long time, but just again, looking at last week, a 318 average with a 939 OPS, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and a total of 7 hits. You're going to stay in the show a long time putting up numbers like that. So kudos to him. Mad props. Rougned Odor, I feel like, has brought kind of a veteran presence to that team as well. Not really sure of the locker room dynamics of that, but he's playing a big role. I believe he hit a pretty big walk-off home run at some point this weekend. I believe it's the Red Sox series early in that one, but I'd have to go back and kind of pay more attention to that. But he's had 2 home runs this week. And then, of course, kind of big Orioles news right now, I would say, is still Adley Rutschman. Appears to still be adjusting to the big league arms. Not putting up some very good numbers. He's currently slashing 188 with a 547 OPS. He only has 6 hits in his 9 games so far. No home runs, no RBIs, 6 strikeouts. So, it's an adjustment. I'm not saying that he's by no means a bust at this point. Dude's only like 24 plate appearances in, but or something, like that. So, he's still got time to figure it out. It's the adjustment of catching. I mean, again, I would say that catching, and you guys being the 2 catchers would probably be able to speak to this a little bit better, but I feel like catching is probably one of the hardest positions to come up and adapt, because not only are you having to adapt from an offensive standpoint, but now you're having to adapt from a relationship with your pitchers. You're having to learn an entire pitching staff, not just a starting rotation, but your bullpen. You're having to game plan to be able to call a game. There's a lot that gets thrown at you, I feel like, as a catcher coming up versus, say, shame on us for not even talking about this.
Michael Harris
podcast, baby. But Michael Harris, the second, got his big call up. He looked solid. I would say, yeah, but I think it shows the confidence that they have in him. His plate appearances looked pretty good, I'd say, with the exception of his first one. That one was a little tough, but I mean, holy cow! Welcome to the show, kid. Go face Alcantara and tell us what you think. That was a pretty tough, but then turns around in the second at bat, gets a hit. So, kudos again to him and that, and he made several very good defensive plays in center field. But again, to use him as a comparison, I feel like coming up as a center fielder versus a catcher, the pressure of that is a lot different. I don't know if you guys would agree with that or not, but
yeah, that whole game planning and having to call a game and then try to figure out the pitchers, the opposing pitchers, and yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I mean, it is what it is. He's not exactly facing any slouch teams. Yankees are in first place.
yeah.
And then it's his first road trip to New York, to Boston. So, next week he gets into the friendly confines, gets to play at home, gets a series against Seattle, gets a series against Cleveland. So maybe gets a few more hits, and I know he's got one hit tonight already. So it just takes some time to adapt, especially as a catcher, especially mid-season. Now, if they had brought him up right out of the gate, it may have been a little bit easier because now he's familiar with guys and familiar calling, big league game. But it takes time, and that's the reason they brought him up, because they know it's going to take some time. But where else would you rather learn, in the show or in AAA? So
yeah. Well, I guess the argument could be made he's been doing that adjustment his entire career at this point. I mean, that
Correct.
same adjustment happens at every level, from low A to high A to double A, all the way through. So, yeah, I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When I caught, I was a lot better. Going, things like going to your summer ball leagues, going to different teammates, going to, different things like that. I always felt like getting all of it was better. I was a better hitter when I was catching than when I was DHing. And, Reshman's been doing all of this stuff since he got into the big leagues and game planning, doing all that other kind of stuff. I would just chalk it up to being nervous, anxious, wanting to produce. I mean, he's 1-1. He's been the best prospect in baseball for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, the Baltimore Orioles have been terrible. He knows it. Everybody knows it. I mean, if your call-up video, the manager video, is on social media, like, that's a different level.
Yeah.
That's just a different level. And it's one of those things where it doesn't surprise me that he's scuffling a little bit out of the gate. But the summer is hot in Baltimore, and when he gets in that part, the baseball flies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing too, how many of us have had pressure of being the number 1 overall pick?
Nope.
So
Nobody.
That's a lot of pressure too. So
yeah.
I mean, he's the savior of the Orioles franchise right now. Like,
correct.
Yeah.
That he is charged with bringing them back.
That's correct.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, that by no means was supposed to be a shot at him. It's just kind of a check-in of where he's at so far in his career. I think all of us, and I'll speak for Barrick a little bit, envision him being a lot more successful through the rest of this season. I think really for him, as Drew said, this year's really the learning experience. I think when you can really start to judge him is start of 2023 and how he comes out of the gate in that, having all of this experience under his belt, really knowing that pitching staff, knowing those arms. I think you're going to really see big things from him. But, again, you don't get to, like Robbie said, you don't get to prospect 1-1 by being a slouch dude either. So that's also not to say that he couldn't produce some pretty incredible numbers. And, maybe he flips a switch here and becomes the Orioles all-star, pick. Who knows? I think the talent is probably there enough for him to do something of that nature, even though Austin Hayes may have something to be said about that so far from the Orioles production standpoint. So no, I agree. I agree with all of that.
I think he just needs a little extra protection in the lineup. Maybe somebody like Connor Norby.
Well, luckily for him, he just got back off the IL. So
yeah. Give it a year or two. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd give him about a year and a half. Give me a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half. There's really some dudes down there. Seriously, in that group he's playing with, there are some dudes, and they're coming.
Guys,
and they're really good.
I just saw something in a Braves game that I've never seen before.
Oh, boy.
Ron Washington throwing up a stop sign.
Well, he actually did try to stop Swanson last week on a pretty crazy play that Swanson actually just ignored and ended up scoring. So so hopefully he's not getting too gun shy over there, but I doubt it. So did the guy stop this time?
It was Dansby. And Dansby stopped.
Again. Okay. Man, that's pretty hilarious. So
It's because Austin Riley's coming up. It's because Riley's at the plate.
There you go.
He didn't want to get thrown out.
So we always have this kind of as just a placeholder out here. Any kind of big MLB news that we want to chat about. I know there is a big topic that all of us have that is a headline that we will talk about. But so I'll say, aside from that specific topic, is there anything you guys kind of feel worth mentioning? The only thing that I was going to kind of just touch on real quick to cap last week's conversation about Josh Donaldson and the situation that happened with Tim Anderson. He did end up receiving a 1-game suspension from MLB. I will put my hand up and say I did not follow through on that story because I know Josh Donaldson appealed it. So I don't know what the league or if they've made a decision on that. I think to Barrick's point that he made on that situation last week, Donaldson did seem to take responsibility for the entire situation the entire time. I felt like he put out a pretty good statement and apology out there. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's over and it rectifies the entire situation, but at least he did kind of take some responsibility with that and do that. But then, crazily enough, he's now been put on the 10-day DL for shoulder inflammation. So, I guess it's kind of a moot point, really, from that standpoint. And then the only other thing I was just going to mention was a couple of other injury updates, and I hate kind of being negative Nancy on that, but Zach Greinke goes to the DL with a tight pectoral muscle. That was kind of a weird one that I kind of saw there. Tim Anderson actually strained his groin, and he's going to be sidelined for the White Sox for a little bit of time. The Twins' top prospect, Royce Lewis, has a bruised knee and will be heading to the injured list with that. The Brewers, Woodruff is moved to the 15-day DL. And so I believe that was also a shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. They don't expect that to be too long, but anytime you hit the 15-day DL versus being on the injured list, that's a little bit worrisome, especially considering that pitching staff's, already kind of thin. Machado had a sore back. He sat out the last couple days. That's pretty big for that Padres lineup. That's been pretty huge. He's been a huge part of that of their success so far. So that's definitely big for their. So we'll kind of see how that goes. So
any other watching Machado? Not because I think he's a bad person or anything like that. It's just like I feel like he's going to get a hit every single time. Like there's very few people that I watch not on the Braves who I feel like are going to get a hit every single time. And I feel like, man, they would draft that guy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So, well, I guess that will take us into the actual headline news of the week. So
you should have just called it the slap.
Yeah.
Slap bet. How I Met Your Mother reference.
This one is crazy just because I don't even really know how to talk about it. Because it's so preposterous.
It's from 2020.
I know.
Why have you been festering? Well, why are you festering over it for 2 years?
How's that, Rob?
I love that. I like that. That's good. That's even more creative than mine.
I just don't understand how you fester over this for 2 years. I mean, I get it. I understand these guys are playing for a lot of money for fantasy football, but dude, seriously? And I mean, I saw
they're allowed to bet on fantasy football.
They can bet on fantasy football. They can't bet on baseball.
Yeah. So just a little backstory for those that are listening that don't know what happened. So Jock Pederson, who played last season with the Chicago Cubs and ended the season with the Atlanta Braves and then winning a championship, signed as a free agent over the offseason with the San Francisco Giants. Jock Pederson in 2020 played for the Dodgers, correct, and won a World Series with them. Tommy Pham played for the Padres in 2020 and was signed by the Reds this year to a contract. So these guys have had some history. Obviously, the Dodgers and Padres rivalry is a real one. Somehow, though, these guys end up in a fantasy football league together in 2020. Per Jock Pederson, the situation that kind of sparked the controversy or sparked the issue was he had an injured player that was ruled out for a game. This is, again, in fantasy football, not baseball. Ruled out for a game. He moved him to the IR on the bench, which, if you're not familiar with fantasy football, means you now have an open spot to go pick up someone else in the free agent wire. And so Jock did that. Tommy Pham calls him out in the league group text chat. Jock Pederson responds with a screenshot that actually shows Tommy Pham doing the exact same thing the week before. And he's like, I don't know what your deal is. There was apparently some other, I would say from Jock's standpoint, playful things said in the group thread. Tommy Pham apparently took huge disrespect and has been holding this grudge for the past 2 years. So the Giants travel to Cincinnati this past weekend. Pre-game, Tommy Pham and Jock Pederson are warming up in the outfield, and someone caught cell phone footage of the situation in which Tommy Pham pretty much Will Smith slapped Jock Pederson straight in the face, right across the mouth. You don't get any type of post reaction or anything. The video cuts from there. But overall, a very strange situation to have happen in baseball. I'll be honest, I don't really recall a situation where this has happened. I'm sure there have been some scuffles, but they just, I guess, weren't probably public out in the middle of the field before a game. So, yeah, pretty wild. Pham was suspended 3 games by the MLB. I do not believe that he fought it. I think he just accepted it and ended up not playing in the series against the Giants at that point. So again, just a pretty wild scene. So, it's a really interesting topic to talk about, but also I would say a hard topic to talk about because, again, we're talking about a situation that occurred between these two literally 2 years ago. So, I mean, I guess do you, man? Like, that's kind of all I can say.
He's probably more upset about the comments about the Padres versus well, he may be upset about getting called out doing the same thing too. I don't know Tommy Pham that well, or I don't know Jock either, but obviously something did not just connect between those two, and Tommy Pham held a grudge for 2 years and decided, hey, Jock, whack.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the Will Smith slap. There is definitely something internal going on behind the scenes with that and him personally, and it wouldn't surprise me if Tommy Pham struggled with some anger or something like that. I mean, there's no rational adult that holds on to something as trivial as a comment or anything like that without some other stuff going on.
Yeah,
that's just what I think. I mean,
yeah,
especially something as, even if you got a lot of money on the line, fantasy football.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and again, it's not like somebody put a gun to his head and said, you have to play this league. Like, I feel like when you enter into those situations, you're putting up the money that you're comfortable with. And, maybe he was stretching himself. I have no clue what kind of money we're talking about here, but I know Tommy, in his post-game kind of remarks about the situation, he was still pretty angry about it. he basically said Jock was very disrespectful to him and the Padres in the thread. And then he said, and he was messing with my money. So, I think some of the rationale behind it, I guess, as well, is a lot of these guys come usually. I'm not going to speak on behalf of everyone, but usually these guys will come from situations where they don't have a lot of money. And now that they do, even though you could consider what he was doing kind of like gambling with it or whatever, he still felt like somebody was doing something that was, unfairly causing him to potentially lose money. And so, people get real protective over that. And that mindset of that too. So I don't know. It's a very strange situation nonetheless, but it definitely rattled the cages of MLB news this week. And it was.
Chances are that wasn't the only terrible thing said about somebody else's team in that chat. And probably wasn't the first thing said by Jock Pederson about another person's team in that chat. Yeah. And so,
well, and I guess where I come from a little bit is like, if anything, with Jock being on the Braves last year, it did give us a little more insight into his personality. Like, the dude is kind of like the king of smack talk. Like, that's just him. So like, for somebody to take it personal and offensive, like, it'd be one thing if this guy never talks trash, but like Pederson is known to do this. So it's like, I'm not going to say it gives him an excuse, but at the same time, it's like, that's what he's about. That's what he does. So it's kind of like, I don't know why you're getting so angry and so upset about it in that kind of frame.
Because you willingly got in there with somebody who has the potential to do that.
Well, and
I agree with you.
Jock Pederson came out in I think it was a second interview after game 2 of that, and like showed images from his phone of like what the stuff was, and then the meme that he tweeted that apparently Tommy got upset about was these 3 bodybuilders that were doing throw bag. I don't know what the exercise is called, but like they were heavy bags that they were trying to throw like for distance, and each one had a Giants, a Dodgers, and a Padres logo above them. And all 3 of them throw this bag at the same time. And the Giants and Dodgers weightlifters like cleared it. The Padres person basically threw it straight up, and the bag came down and hit him straight on the head and like knocked him over. And so it's like, that's just funny. I mean, that's what a group text is for. Like, so, I mean, if somebody in our group got upset about that, I feel like we would have like an emergency meeting of like, hey, like, are we good? Like, are you okay? Like,
also, it's funny. Anyway. It's funny because it's true.
True. I mean, yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers and the Giants just won 100 games last year. Padres are sitting on what, 82?
Yeah, something
less than 82.
I was gonna say less than that. They ended up with a losing record, I believe. So, yeah, just pretty crazy. So, cool. Well, I realized that unfortunately I did skip a segment that we normally should have led the show off with. So we will do it now. Typically we would lead off the show doing a stack bet recap from last week. And I forgot. So that's on me. So last week, Barrick went straight money line bet and put up 60 stacks that the Yankees would win on Monday against his Orioles, and they did not. So that was a fail. I put up 50 stacks. I put up 50 stacks that the Reds and Pirates would combine for 8 or more losses over the week. That also failed. I do not know how. But somehow the Reds and the Pirates decided to have a good week this week against some pretty tough teams. So I lost that bet. And then last but not least, Drew, who is our current leader in stacks, he threw out 4 total bets. I'll go ahead and say one of them was a push. Angel Hernandez apparently had the week off, which I guess is why you didn't hear too much about umpires this week in the news. So we gave Drew a push on that 10 stack bet. But his other 3, he had the Braves, 25 stacks for the Braves to win both series. They were close, but they did only go 2-2 against the Phillies, so that technically does not hit. But he did score his other 2 25 stack bets. Mackenzie Gore, I believe, ended up going 7 innings in his start.
Yep.
So he hit the Mackenzie Gore 6 or more innings. And then he also hit the Royals scoring 20 or more runs this week. The Royals on an absolute offensive tear, I believe, ended up putting up like 28 or 31, something like that, runs on the week. So kudos to Drew. He finishes the week. He won 100 stacks, but we gave him his 10 stacks back for the Angel Hernandez. So that took his balance before going into this week to 235. And when we get to our new stack bets for the week, he will have 285 with the new 50 stacks that he was given to go into this week.
Wow.
I am on the verge of bankruptcy. I finished last week with 25 stacks. So when I add the 50 for this week, I'll have 75 to play with. Kenny and Robbie, unfortunately, did not get us any stack bets last week, so they pushed for the week. So they will both head in. Kenny will have 90 stack bets this week. Robbie has 150 to play with. So we will we'll get into those before we close out the show here. And
I got a good one.
So I am. It is a good thing this is not real money. That's all I got to say. I would be hurting.
I wouldn't.
I hope Drew is finding a way to get into a legal state to make some bets or some kind.
Nope.
Hopefully, North Carolina will figure something out with sports bets.
I heard it's coming for college football.
That would be lovely.
Outstanding.
So, just in time for MLB playoffs.
Yes.
So we will move into another segment that we started last week, player or players of the week. So I've got a couple options here. Robbie, you ended up having to leave last week before we did this, so I don't know if you have any for this week. If you do, perfect. If not, that is a-okay. We can chat about because I think Drew and I are going to have some differences this week. There wasn't as clear of a cut winner, I feel like, so maybe Robbie can be the deciding factor here, unless he has some for us here. So
you can make your cases to me. And I will render a verdict.
There you go. I love it. Well, Drew, I will give you the power of choice since you are killing the group in stack bets. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first this week?
Go ahead. Let me see what you got. We'll see who you got. Right. I was pretty good for MLB player of the week last week, pitcher and player.
Yep.
So
all right.
Well, we both. So I did. Player.
I did go. I did go both this week as well. So so you want me to do both, or you want to do player first and then pitcher second?
It doesn't matter. Either one's fine. Either way's fine.
I'll give you both. So my player of the week, I'm actually going to give it to Mr. Jock Pederson.
That's crazy. That was mine.
Is it? Well,
yep,
maybe we are going to be different this week.
Nope, that's mine. That was mine as well. Jock Pederson was mine.
Well, so Robbie, your job is easy on that one then. So
I wasn't even listening. I wasn't even listening. I'm sitting here watching Matt Olson drop a routine double play throw from Dansby Swanson. Like it hit his glove and fell straight down. Like he's done that a couple of times, and I'm like, this guy won a Gold Glove.
Yes, he did.
Not giving the first baseman good looks on that one, but so Jock Pederson, position player of the week. Drew and I actually in agreement, which is crazy. So Jock's stat line this week: 450 batting average. He belted 4 home runs, had 13 RBIs, 9 total hits, all the while being slapped in the mouth. So kudos to him for handling all that and still putting up solid numbers. So
woke him up.
All right, let's see if last week we actually did have the same position player.
That's right.
But our pitcher was different. So the pitcher that I picked this week was Mr. Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Same.
Look at that. Look at that. And I swear, we do not talk about this before we get on the podcast. This is we make them and then we come on the podcast and pick them. So, Robbie, I guess your services won't be needed after all, unless you disagree.
I think I'm going to go with Jock Pederson and Corbin Burns as my hitter and pitcher of the week.
Good choice.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, Corbin had a really good week. 2-0, 0.69 ERA, 13 innings, 7 hits, a run, 3 walks, and 16 strikeouts.
What was 2
other guys, 0.69.
Yeah,
and
one run in 16 innings, so 13 innings.
And
13. I think Sonny Gray could have, also been. If you look right below, Sonny.
Yeah.
Almost same stat line. 2 innings, 0.69 ERA, 13 innings, 6 hits.
Yeah.
1 walk and 14 punch outs. So I mean,
yeah,
a little lower whip, a little lower average, but Corbin.
You almost could have threw Alcantara in there again.
Correct.
But his downfall the past couple of weeks has been the one game. He hasn't pitched 2 games in a week.
Right.
But so that's crazy, man. We'll see. Have those already come out? I didn't even see.
No, I don't know. I didn't even see them come across today, so they may not have.
So. Well, we'll see if we can go 2 for 2 again this week. Again, that would be pretty solid. But I'm glad to hear Drew and I on the same page this week. So love it. Love it. Let's see. We are coming up on the hour. So go ahead, Rob. What you got?
Guess what happened next?
Oh boy.
2 outs, RBI double. Now it's 5-2 Arizona. But they should have been out of the inning.
Well,
and there's another double.
Yep, can't give. I mean, again, the Diamondbacks are no slouches. I mean, they've beaten some good teams this year. The Braves should definitely, playing their brand of baseball should be able to handle them. But unfortunately, can't be giving free outs away. So,
Matt Olson.
Oh, I will say just.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
Nope, don't say it. I'm not gonna let you say it.
All right, okay. I'm fine.
Because I was literally getting ready to say, like, the amount of Matt Olson hate that I see on Twitter from Braves fans is crazy. Like, sure, the guy's offense has been down, and when you directly compare it to Freddie, anybody at the first base position right now, besides Paul Goldschmidt's probably going to look like a slouch compared to Freddie Freeman. But Matt Olson leads the league in doubles with 20. So, like, he's putting the ball in play hard for the most part.
But just catch the ball.
The defense, I don't quite understand the struggles that he's having there. That's tough, especially dropping throws right to you. But
wait till you see it. Holy smokes.
I don't know if I want to. It hurts this first baseman's heart. So just even hearing the description. So
just wait. All right, I'm ready for betting. I have my bet.
All right. So like I said, we're coming up on the hour, so I don't want to add another topic here and push us over too far. So we'll jump right back into it. Stack bets for the week. We are joined this week by Robbie, so we got an extra. And I will, if we get one from Kenny or from Barrick, I will drop them down in the show notes for everyone listening post recording to see what we did. All right, boys. I know Drew's got a few, so Rob, you want to lead us off on this one?
I have one. It's just one. I'm gonna bet $75.
Stacks.
Stacks that a young Mr. Michael Harris II will hit his first big league home run this week.
Okay, I like that.
Hope he doesn't get sent down.
One more home runs, right?
What?
Just one or more home runs. That's the bet.
One or more home runs.
Well, if he makes it to Colorado, I think that could be a pretty good bet. I don't
He's
envision
in
him getting
Arizona.
sent. I don't envision him getting sent back down. This feels like a pretty. We're gonna give him a fair share.
His defense in center field has changed the way the outfield plays. Now I don't understand why Marcell Ozuna is out there in the left field. Anyways, $75, 75 stacks. Michael Harris does second, gets his first home run in the big leagues.
Can Duvall not play left?
I think they're trying to guard Acuna from playing on the turf. Which means you're either going to have to put in Arcia, the only way to get Ozuna in there if you're not putting Acuna out there is in left field.
The DH or the DH, yeah.
Well, if Acuna's DHing, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, Duvall's right.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation that I'd like to get into, but it doesn't fit with this segment per se. But I really enjoyed the lineup against the Phillies when Dansby was hitting 9, and he had that protection with Acuna. And I feel like the way Dansby's hitting also it gives both of them some protection at the bottom of that lineup. But when Dansby's hitting the way he is, I guess it's hard to move him that far down the lineup. But I just that felt I don't know that just felt really that felt like a good combination at the bottom of the lineup there. So anyway, that's a topic. We'll see how the rest of this week plays out with the offense there. All right, I will go next. So with my measly 75 stacks that I have to play with this week, to avoid to avoid going absolutely bankrupt, I'm going to bet 50 of it, but I got to leave myself with some. I am putting up that the Blue Jays, who had a solid week this past week, I'm going to put up 25 stacks that the Blue Jays will score 20 or more runs this week. And then I'm going to put up another 25 stacks that the Braves will go 5-2 this week, which or 5-2 or better. So five or more wins this week. They have 7 games playing Arizona and Colorado. So 5 games between the 2 series. That's what I would like to see. So 25 stacks on that. We'll see. Not off to a great start with that one tonight, but time will tell.
It would be a 1-run ball game if Freddie Freeman Light could catch a ball at first base.
Oh, don't do him dirty like that. Don't do him dirty like that.
Look, man, we're 50 games into this sucker now. Like, it's time to start playing ball.
I hear you.
Saying.
All right, Drew. Round us home here. You're putting up 3 more this week. So
since I got
Ron
stacks to play with,
Andrew.
Yeah, since I've got some stacks to play with, we're going 100 stacks on Paul Goldschmidt hitting 3 or more home runs this week.
Oh my!
We're gonna go
right, Drew.
25 stacks. Yeah, 25 stacks on the Braves scoring 20 plus runs only in Colorado. And since Angel had the week off, well, you know what? Let's go back at him. Angel Hernandez, 10 stacks that he's going to suck this week and be less than 90%, according to Ump Scorecard.
Ump Scorecard, yeah, not MLB Scorecard.
No,
is that your new favorite Twitter account, Drew?
I love Ump Scorecard. Love it.
It's a good one. It's a good follow. Here's one reason that I will say I do like it as well. Braves game Saturday, the Sandy Alcantara start. I felt like that umpire was squeezing us pretty good. I felt like he was giving Sandy some off the plate and wasn't giving our guys much off the plate. I went back and looked at the scorecard for that game, and I think the ump missed like 2 calls. So kudos to that guy. It's a hard job. We've talked about it at length on this podcast, how hard of a job it is. We just want them to do their job. That's the ultimate thing. Just do your job.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Love it. All right. Well, that's the stack bets this week. So I'll give you guys, Robbie, any closing thoughts?
Baseball's fun. Baseball's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Oh, baseball's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch it. I'm glad to have it on. I'm glad to have it around, even though it can be frustrating. It's just really cool.
We won't get
I
into
like it a lot.
specifics.
I
We won't
like
get
it
into
a
the
lot.
specifics, but I agree with you, Rob. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching baseball games over the last couple weeks. So,
hey, just get really emotional, you guys.
That's right.
I'll be back. Drew, you go.
Robbie's been spending too much time alone this weekend.
Yeah, he needs some love. Is his wife home yet? No,
too funny.
I'm looking forward to more week of baseball. I'm looking forward to NCAA regionals this week. School's winding down, so it's a good time of the year.
The upcoming birth of your son.
Yeah, that's going to be here sooner than later. So
yeah,
and big week for her too. She's got a birthday tomorrow, so big birthday. So
Drew, do y'all have a name yet?
Yes, but we're not telling anyone until he is born.
That's exciting.
Love it.
I like a secret.
Yep.
Megan and I don't want secrets.
Yeah, we're the only two that know. Our parents have no idea, nothing, no clue.
You could go live to millions of people right now, Drew.
No, we're not going live to millions of people right now. That is not happening. She will walk in here and slap me harder than Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and harder than Tommy Phan slapped Jock Pederson. That's enough.
Okay, is it an off-the-wall name? Can you give us the first letter of the first name?
Nope. Drew's not walking into that.
Nope.
I don't blame him.
Couldn't tell you.
Is it an off-the-wall name, or is it a pretty traditional name?
I can't tell you.
Biblical name, maybe?
I still can't tell you, Rob. The answer is I can't tell you.
Thurston,
I don't know.
Thurston Howell Dole.
I'm just going to call him Gilligan from right now.
Okay. It's all right. Her son has named him Rocky, so
hey,
fair.
There you go.
Is it Rocky?
No. God, no.
Apollo?
No.
Apollo Dole.
Well, if you want to jump on the Rocky train, that's fine. You can jump on the Rocky train, but no names until he is born.
That's funny. That is too funny. Well, that little boy's got five godfathers that are looking forward to meeting him.
That's truth.
Robbie's, we're happy for another one on that train as well. So
right.
His name's going to be Ren. By the way, we're not holding secrets.
You're not going to name him Matt?
No. His name's going to be Ren. No. His name's going to be Renwick. Renwick. You call him Ren.
Love it.
Grandfather name from Meg's side.
Nice.
And then he's going to have Thomas.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a familiar middle name to me.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Oh, boy. Well, definitely looking forward to all these babies joining. We'll have to have us we'll have a fun Father's Day podcast to have some fun with on that one. So
yeah,
a few of us don't have them. So
sure.
You and Rhino need to get to work.
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. So
that's what I said. Here I'm sitting.
Yeah. Oh, well, if that's all you guys got, this has been fun as always. We appreciate everyone joining us and having a little fun with us, taking a load off and hopefully giving you a fun distraction for your week. As always, if you would like to send an email with any comments or questions that you would like us to discuss on a podcast, feel free to email us at first23rdpod@gmail.com. That is the word first, the number 2, the word thirdandpod@gmail.com. Also, feel free to follow us on our social media down below. We're on Instagram and on Twitter. We're definitely starting to try to be more active on both. So we appreciate any love and support that you can give us there. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to like and subscribe to the channel so you can be sure to hear all the things that we have upcoming and all the conversations and things that we're going to have going on. So again, for Scott, Drew, and Robbie, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will catch you next week. See ya.